My name is Sonia Figueroa, and once again, to my left, we have...
Dave Famous. What's poppin'?
I'm Jonathan Reyes.
Kaimana Gonzalez.
You ain't throw up two.
I know, he's just three because he did 1, 2, 3. Yeah,
Am I 4?
welcome back to our first season ever entitled Summer Conversations. We have one more episode after this, so that will be pretty awesome, pretty cool.
Excited.
But here we go. Let's just get right down to it. Texting etiquette. Is there? Is it? What is it? Do we have it? Do we need it?
This makes me so mad just to even talk to it.
There is
because everyone's the worst.
Well, especially
at texting.
Jonathan here.
Well, hold on a second. Wait. Okay, hold
if
on.
there was a leader in being bad at texting,
I don't think it might not fall into
John.
texting etiquette. Your problem with my texting. So go
okay,
ahead.
I went
just etiquette.
I went all
in
the way
general.
back.
Okay.
Etiquette in general. Wow, I think you're a nice boy.
etiquette.
He's saying it's not just.
I went all the way
texting
back
etiquette.
to the beginning of our texting during this entire season of the VoiceCast, and not once
John is
has
very
J. Ray
important.
responded.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Not once has Pastor
Very
Jonathan
busy.
given a thumbs up and okay.
Red book pass.
Not even a like,
But
which is
Red
disrespectful
bug
anyways.
There's context here.
Youth
Hold on.
Pastor has responded.
First of all, it's a group text.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that's
that
He's
affects
too
it.
good
If it
for
was a
group
one-on-one
texts.
thing,
Yes.
the likelihood of me not responding, not at
Yeah.
least liking whatever, is way less than a group text. It's a group text. Okay. Number 2.
But it's
See,
hey, are
wait,
we
no,
good to me?
But he's breaking down his etiquette right now. He's
Okay.
breaking down the psychology of how it works. If it's in a group message, I'm probably not going to let you know anything.
But see how?
That's
okay,
not my
just,
point at
let's
all.
pretend
Oh, no?
that. Let's pretend we're not talking about Jonathan. But how rude and self-involved must you be to be like, I deserve a one-on-one text?
No, that's not what I'm
invitation to a
saying.
party.
I'm not, no,
I can't
absolutely.
believe you.
Because then I'm like, this
You
person
acting
who's like hosting a
totally
party or
different,
inviting
man.
people somewhere,
Yes.
they
I've
have
changed,
to
I
text
know.
30 people separately.
No, absolutely
just to
not.
get a
So
reply.
I was getting to that. Okay. I really was getting to that. So number 1, it's a group text, so there's a little less, whatever. Like, but number 2 is this.
I don't count when it's a group.
Incorrect.
Wow.
I'm not
I
seeing.
heard you say that. I heard you say that.
If it's a group text, okay, that brings me to my second point, which is that especially if there's like a mission or something going on, like, we're organizing this, the implied answer is down. Good for everything.
No.
All right, maybe listen, whether you think so or not,
okay.
listen, if I even like one thing that has to do with like, okay, we still down for this, whatever, like,
Okay.
then everything else
see what
underneath
you're
that,
saying.
I don't
You're
know.
saying you would only chime in if you had
A
like
direct asking
an
of
issue
me
or something.
or yes, okay, if that were the case. But
Yeah.
even then I might text you personally because like that's the only
But then
person
I
that can
don't
fix
know.
it.
But then I don't know that. You should let me know. You
It's
should text me
assumed.
and go, "Hey, Pastor Sonia,
He's
I will let you
assuming
know if I
you
had an
guys have
issue,
the
but
same-
I don't
Alright,
have an issue, but it's okay."
I'm willing to admit
Saw
this
your
much.
message
Group
and I'm gonna
text,
text you
group text, and I think
personally.
a lot of people could resonate with this. I'm willing to admit group texts are a little stressful for me, and I just kind of
Stressful.
I don't know if that's the word, but I just kind of don't like them,
Yeah.
and so I guess that might contribute to why I don't respond as much or whatever. But I also feel genuinely like if I don't respond, it's like, okay, I'm good to go for everything that we're
I
talking
literally
about.
don't ever know if you're ever going to show up.
Right.
I don't know if you have an issue, have a problem. Like, I'm like, okay,
Well,
I know
think
David's
also
coming.
He's just a bad texter. in
I don't see
general.
that's
Yeah.
no, don't go there.
That
I
is-
don't
because
think-
that
oh
is
my
true.
No,
gosh, you
and
guys.
not like it means anything deep. It's just you're just not
Yeah.
good at it. Like,
All right, well maybe yeah, well then
It's very
double
surface,
that
but
in
it's
group
bad.
text because group texts are just
Yeah.
weird to me. I don't
Yeah.
know.
you probably-
Yes.
because I promise if someone called you, you'd probably answer
Right.
or call them back.
I still
Right.
think that's unacceptable
It doesn't make it
for
right. How about,
society.
do you guys have the red text on your phone?
No, I don't. I took that off
No.
as soon as that phone.
I've
What is
never
that?
had
What do you
that.
mean? Oh, the
You don't text,
receipts.
so don't
Oh
worry
no.
about it.
You
You're gonna-
see?
well,
Jonathan would, because literally people who have red receipts, it's now like this passive aggressive thing
Yeah.
to be like, I did read your text and I'm not gonna reply.
So maybe I
it
should
used to
turn 'em
be
on.
like to be
No.
back in the day. It was like
No.
couples that didn't trust each other. They'd turn it on so that they each would know when they read the text. And now
Yeah.
it's like evolved to this like power thing where it's
Yeah,
like
it's just to be
people who I
petty.
know are really bad texters. They have it on just so you can know
Yeah.
that I did see the text
I
and I'm
don't
not gonna
understand.
reply.
You don't deserve a reply.
Yeah, I think it's just rude in general
To have 'em on.
Like, because if I see that you read it, I'm going to continue to text you.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
if you
me
don't
too. I'm like,
respond,
hey,
I'll
I
be
saw
like,
you read
and I
that.
know you saw that, so I'm gonna keep talking.
And
It's
I see that you saw what I just sent also.
Yeah.
So can you reply to one
It's
of
like
these?
somebody nodding in
But
a
if it's
conversation.
been 3
but not
hours since the
responding.
text, even if
And
you
you're
don't
like,
see the
look me in the
receipt, you
eyes.
know they saw it.
You don't
No,
know that.
you don't
'cause
know.
It's very,
3 hours. I don't know,
No,
man.
because
Sometimes in work, you
You're
can't have
giving
your
them
phone
the
with
benefit
you.
of the
There are
doubt.
your
times
phone's
where,
on
yeah.
do not disturb.
Oh, I could
and
name one person I know
No,
that
there
can't
are
read their
times
phone
when like
during work. The
I
rest
like at
can.
Name
certain
names.
times.
I actually don't even know if I
Favorite
know one. I'm
expression.
pretty sure everyone I know at work can read their phone.
No.
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 Disney employees can't, and we're very, very
Yeah.
Disney-ish.
Like-
Welcome to
Sometimes,
Orlando.
like landscaping.
I'd
Landscaping.
still,
Not
Landscaping.
safe.
I don't know,
Like
dude.
corporate jobs.
If it's been 3 hours,
Acrobats
whether I
cannot
see a
have their
receipt
phone
or
up
not.
there.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Beyonce,
sure.
she
Lion
can't check during
tamers.
her
Anybody who works at
concerts.
SeaWorld is going
Okay.
to be
All
underwater.
right, yeah, no,
Shamu
no.
is not allowed with his phone.
So
But what I'm saying is, if
Until
it's been
break
3 hours
time.
though, whether I see a receipt or not, I'm pretty sure they've seen it.
See, that
Just
would
the
make me
same-
even more sad
It's
to
the
think
same
that.
level of like being
That it's-
disappointed in them, I
Nah.
guess, or
Oh
whatever.
my
it is.
goodness.
I don't
I
know. Or
just-
I just wait.
whatever,
If you
knowing
don't,
that they
if you don't
didn't.
hit me back within like 15, 20 minutes, then I just like let it ride. I don't think about it
Oh.
unless it's pertinent and I need to know the information. Then I'm probably gonna call you. But if then I'm like, okay, you're busy. That's what that communicates. But if you have the red receipts on, then I know you're not busy enough. Like you're on your phone. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw this meme and it said, if you think I'm ignoring you, I promise you I am, because I'm on my phone 24/7.
Yep.
And so
Which
like
is the way I see
Yup.
it. Everyone
and it's
is.
kind of true, but at the same time, I can understand someone reading it and not having the time to respond. You know what I'm saying? Which,
Do you think if I respond to a text like 2 days later or a day later,
because you have and you
is
do
that
do that.
right? Right, correct.
Literally,
So
the
is
last
that-
time we spoke
That's
in
better,
text
though,
message.
I
than
did
the
that
normal
today. I
thing, which is to
responded to
not
somebody
text
this
at
morning
all.
that texted me yesterday afternoon.
That's awful.
I think that's okay. Is there a statute of limitations on when you can't text back anymore?
No, I think you could always text back, but it's
I
just.
think after you've seen him in person, you can't do it anymore.
Well, I mean, the moment
Oh,
has
okay.
passed. Once
I
the
think
moment
that's-
has passed, then it's
Yeah.
just like, it's kind of like, okay.
I just think there's
I-
a certain time that you like ignore them, that you have to include like an apology in your text, like, "Hey, sorry,
A
I
little
forgot,"
disclaimer.
or some fake excuse that's
Yeah.
not real. I didn't have my phone with me. My phone wasn't getting text, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to.
What
do that.
excuses do you use? He's thinking about it. He's
I've had people
No,
that
it's-
text me after like 2 weeks, literally as if I texted them an hour ago. I just like,
Oh my god.
I could not believe this is
To
happening.
me,
There's
2
this.
weeks is
There's this one time I had texted. I'm gonna say his name because it's fine because we all love him. But it was Quan. I had texted Quan something. This is a long time ago. I have a screenshot. I texted him something. I was like, "Hey, bro, something," and he's like, "Okay, cool." And he responded, and then he texted me like months later saying, "Yo, hey, da da da, are you coming to this?" And I was like, "Nah, fam. Like, this is David." He's like, "Oh, I thought this was Danny." And like, I was like, "Are you for real, bro?" Like,
Wait.
it was just, so Quan, if you're watching
wow.
this, save my number.
He
Lock
probably
it-
won't watch it until someone's like, "Hey,
Someone's like,
they
"Oh,
talked
they
about
mentioned
you."
it."
Lock it in,
Please
bro.
save his number.
I kind
Yeah,
of want
that
to say
is
the
a
worst
little-
texter I know.
Say it.
Oh my
I don't know. I'm
gosh, it's
afraid.
not
If
Jonathan
they're-
right
if
now.
they're
No,
proud
he
of it.
isn't at all. Because here's the thing: he's not always on his phone. To
That's
me, the
true.
worst texter is if literally they're like this 24/7
Yeah.
and then they don't text you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, there's
Like,
someone
oh,
I know
didn't-
that is
I
worse,
didn't have
and they
my
have
phone.
red receipts.
I was
yeah.
like, no, you always have
Yeah.
your
Oh,
phone.
yeah,
That is
oh, yeah.
never an excuse. That is
Oh, yeah.
never a reason. At
Yeah.
least you're not like this glued up there like
Yeah.
playing
That's true.
drums.
Right.
I believe that Jonathan's not always on his
Yeah.
phone. So
Is there anything off limits to text? Is there some things there's no way you can text?
Yeah, I think I just think anything you wouldn't say in person. Like, I had someone text me like a while ago, and they were just like coming at me in like a super passive aggressive way, and I text them back, and I was like, "There's absolutely no way that the way I'm perceiving this text is how you're sending it." And I was like, "So I will go ahead." It was at church. I was like, "I'll go ahead and find you after church so we can talk in person."
Keep
And then
that
they
same
backpedaled.
energy.
They like backpedaled, and I was like, "Oh no." I was
What
like,
was you at a
no,
second
no.
ago?
We're good. I'm gonna find you after church so you can tell me this stuff in person.
I like
And
that.
so, because I just
like
think
that.
that's unexciting. I think it's like a social media troll, like
It's true,
but
it's true.
to a human being. So then I'm like a little more.
Yeah,
angry.
in that aspect, I think a lot of people are much more brave over like virtually, whether it's text or like DMs or something like that. People will say, so as far as things being off limits, I would say if you can't keep the same energy like in person, then don't text it, like, because it's not you. Like, that's how I
Can
see
you
it.
ask out someone in text?
No.
Ask me in person, or do you have to call them?
I've decided.
Why are you
Yeah.
saying no?
Well,
Uh-oh.
okay. So the reason he's asking me that is because he knows me.
No, Jonathan's
I've
on
recently
the block
decided that
today.
that's just not a thing. You can't do it.
But you
Okay.
can't ask out
No.
in
At
text.
all or just the first time?
Oh, I'm thinking the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I agree with you there.
No, because I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're in a dating relationship too, and it's.
Well, I
But
mean,
what about
super
with
ca-
everyone that meets on like dating apps and stuff like that? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Well,
you
then
don't.
then you have to. But I think I think if there's a medium in real life through which you have the ability to formally ask that
It
person
has
out,
to be in person.
I think you should. Really, I think you should.
I think it would be best to do that in person. I agree with that.
Why is it
too.
best?
Only because it just kind of it makes for me, I know this, it makes me like ask myself if I'm really like serious. You know what I'm saying? So that way if I'm serious enough to make this
to like
action,
might maybe be embarrassed.
yeah,
in person.
exactly. I'm risking it, like, so it's like they're worth asking, or I'm curious enough or interested enough. So
Do you think you could ask out in?
I don't know. Like back in my day, like we didn't text as much. Like we talked on the phone, but I feel like you can nowadays because I feel like everyone meets on like Instagram.
Yeah.
yeah,
so.
that's true.
I think it's okay to ask out through text. I think
Even
that's
on the
way
first time.
yes, because sometimes people come off way too aggressive and it's super scary.
Okay.
And I'm a good Christian girl, so I'm like, okay, back off.
That's true.
So I would prefer like, hey, I just feel like it's a little bit more cash.
True.
For
You know
some
what I'm
reason,
saying?
though,
Because
too,
Christians,
it's
we're not
like,
allowed to do anything
But
except eat.
the issue with that though is some girls could think that it was just hanging out, like
But if I've never gone out with you
Yeah.
before, it
Okay.
should just be
I feel like
hanging
some
out.
of the
Okay.
creepiest guys have the most confidence.
That's
to
true.
come up
They
to
have
you
the
in person.
audacity.
Yeah.
So it's not
you're like,
perceived as
I wish-
creepy to ask digitally.
I
oh,
don't-
it's never been
No.
creepy.
See, all right. See, I
If
feel
a
like
girl
I go
like
from-
me, I
on-
don't. And
yeah.
it depends on the person, but I'm telling you, I'm a good Christian girl.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and I would prefer, obviously, not literally a random text. I'm like, who are you?
Right.
Hey,
Like, let's have conversation.
maybe.
Right. I was like, but if it's just like, hey, I'm like, do you want to hang out? Do you want to get I like that a little bit, but I'm like, oh, okay, because I can like breathe. It's
Yeah,
not
you
just
can leave
in
them
my
on
You
red.
can
red.
text your group
You can-
chat, be
yeah.
like, yo,
Pray about it, have to
reply
fast
later.
about
who
it.
just asked me out.
but that's-
I'm not freaked out by that. And this is 2019. Maybe like 10 years ago, I'd be
Yeah.
like, no. But also, if you call me to ask me out, I am not picking up the phone. Denied.
that's
So
very,
that freaks me out. And
Yeah.
I'm
Hello?
like, it's crazy because
Yeah.
I've been around since before texting, but now I'm just like, why are you talking? Why are you calling me? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Don't talk to me.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
I'll talk to you
yeah,
in
yeah.
I would
person.
never
Yeah.
answer the phone.
Once
if
we
someone
get
I
to
didn't
Starbucks,
talk to
but
all the
like
time.
just, you know,
That's
let's go loco and take it easy.
I always assume if someone we haven't spoke on the phone before, that they didn't mean to call
Yeah,
me.
me too.
So I just
I'm like,
let
this
it
has to be a
ring,
mistake.
and then I'll text them back, be like, yo,
Yes.
what's up? And they're like, I called you. And I was like, oh, my bad. I thought that was.
That happened to me with
Yeah.
Pastor Johnny. I was like, there's no way he's calling me.
Right.
Like, this has to be a mistake. And then I text him. I was like, hey, did you mistakenly call me? And he was like, no, can you talk for a second? And I was like, I don't
this is
know.
new.
The only
Yeah,
one I
exactly.
pick up is my mom, Pastor Carl, and Pastor Johnny. And sometimes I'm like sweating and crying, so I let it go, and then I call them right back. And I'm just like,
I have to prepare
I'm
for
like, I have
this.
to like pray about it.
Yeah, no, phone
Fast.
calls are like, that's like,
It's too
it's intimate. It really is. I mean, like, not like in a weird way, but it's just like,
Because it's worse than even in person because you can't see them, but
Yeah.
you can like hear like,
it's like, am I charming over the phone? Am I still funny?
like, oh no, did they hear that? I was chewing. Like,
yeah.
Would you ever break
scary.
up over text?
Yeah, I probably cut things off like officially.
Esa
over text.
cara.
officially.
What is
Yeah.
that face? What is that?
I'm just thinking in my mind. That's all I'm doing.
Would you ever break up
I think
over
you
the phone?
shouldn't. Over the phone, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Because people are like,
I mean, I have.
that's my preferred way.
I mean,
Well, I mean, I think
Uh.
any way you can like kind of end it like clearly, if that's the way if that's the best way, then yeah.
I just feel like if you don't do it in person though, there will be the follow up the next time you see them. They'll be
true.
like, "Can I talk to you?" And then you're like,
always,
"Okay."
even if you do it in person.
You're like, "Again, we already did this in
It's
person."
like, so what's left to say?
Yeah.
So sometimes a text kind of can
You
kill
do a whole
all
paragraph.
what ifs. Like you're like,
I do not like you. I do not want to
Well,
date you again.
I mean-
please see bullet point 4.
my gosh.
Refer to
see
number
point
2.
one.
But then
refer
if it's
to
like a
point
bad
two.
texter, you're
Here's
like,
my
I don't know if Jonathan got
bibliography.
it or not.
That's true.
Jonathan's like,
gonna
maybe
be
we're
like,
still together.
It's like,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
didn't see your text.
shows up to the restaurant anyway. Like, I didn't
It's
know.
like, I thought it was a group text.
I think it's okay if
To break up over text?
I think in certain
Oh,
circumstances.
but you won't ask out over
That's
text?
sad though.
I mean, look,
Man.
one is a really positive thing, one is a really negative thing.
I know, but, like-
Because one is scarier. So
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
I don't know. I
Yes.
don't think you should, because I think like people need to cry and people need to be like, what? And
Okay,
get like angry.
I guess
and, like,
that's fair.
I'm just saying, I
Completely
think
fair.
you should do it in person. But if you have to,
Yeah.
if you
have
emergency,
to.
you want to go out with someone else, and you
Or-
gotta
If it's
I
like
don't
the
know,
movie's
if
about to
you're-
start, so you're
Right.
like,
even
wow.
on like a 2-week trip or something. I don't know. I'm just
You don't wanna be
picturing
held down on the
scenarios.
trip.
can't you just
Yeah.
at least phone call them? Phone call them.
We talked
What
about
is
this.
that?
Phone calls are
Phone
That's
call
what we
scary.
call it.
They're really
Man,
scary, but you
I
like
would rather
I've
text.
broken up over a phone call before.
Yeah.
But the person didn't want to come see me. I'm like, I'm done.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm like,
See, the
whatever, but I
circumstance
wouldn't
matters.
over
Exactly.
That's an emergency.
I wouldn't over
Yeah.
text.
I mean, it's just a lot you got to deal with in person, like
Yeah.
tears.
It's just
Tears. I
because
know,
you
but
can't
you're-
text like I'm crying right now and I can't
Exactly.
you just
They're
send
not
a
gonna
crying
send you a
emoji.
Snapchat or a video of their tears. They might,
And
but
they'll send you a picture like
2019,
tears.
you might-
Or you could just FaceTime.
yeah,
Ooh.
Wait,
That's
what about
too
that?
but you know what's weird?
what
In
if
a
they have
weird
an
way,
Android?
FaceTiming. I'm more comfortable
Yeah, than
FaceTiming
phone
than
call.
being on the phone.
Okay,
Yeah, me
why?
too.
Because I
Because you
don't
can
know.
like see, there's another dimension.
I know, but
Yeah.
phone calls used to be, you could
Conversation.
be like cleaning things.
Yeah, I feel like you
could
just can't anymore.
Be like no busted, you
No,
know,
but for
pants
real,
optional, like all these
Sometimes
things.
with the FaceTime, I'll literally put my phone down
Yeah.
and still be on FaceTime
yeah.
like it's a regular call, just with the option of FaceTime. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't know
it's different.
why
Yeah.
that's like that. I've never thought about
It's
that.
weird.
But people like to FaceTime more than phone call.
Yeah.
Call,
Yeah,
phone.
because
I
then
don't
it's just
know.
like you're in person with them for a
Yeah,
little bit.
we hanging out.
Okay, on this note, this is so deep. We're going to continue the conversation in this episode, and we're going to talk about dating and love. There's like
No.
experts on this table.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly,
Dating and love.
Every
as
one of
far
us
as
is an
expert,
expert.
I have decided to hand in my expert card
Cardi-
back to the expert people because
Hand it to Jonathan.
I
Oh,
will. Because
oh, I won't take
honestly,
that.
I feel like
I
Jonathan
won't take that.
understands more than I do.
Oh,
I don't,
maybe.
I don't
I
think
feel
that's
like
real.
you just understand more now. So now it's like when you know God and you're like, wow, I know him more and I know
Yeah.
him less. Like
Oh
you're
my
like
gosh,
that.
yes. I
Don't
know.
cry. Don't cry. You did.
I
love
also
God so
honestly,
much.
sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's start with this. What's your Enneagram, and is it important to you?
Well, mine is a 7.
7.
I'm a 7, and I'm a proud 7. Is it important to me? Like in life, yes, but in dating relationships, I think much less than in life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you
Like-
won't date like what's comparable to a 7. I don't know what is.
That's what I'm saying is I don't think that it matters enough to like dictate whether or not I date a person, but it does matter in the sense that like, cause I don't know, they're accurate enough for me to say, okay, well mine is like, you know, describing who
What's
I am pretty
yours?
well. And if yours is too, then that means the areas that like we complement each other and those are going to be pretty accurate as well. So
So you're
Yeah.
a 7, busy, fun-loving type, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered.
100%.
How are
What?
you a 7?
I'm a 7.
No.
I'm a 7.
On the
There's like
inside.
one of those things
You
that
want to be a
described you.
7.
No, I promise
Does
you.
it
I
I'm
say
feel
a
like
bad
you're more a
texter?
9.
7. What's a 9?
Yeah, I think you're a 9.
Easygoing, self-effacing
Peacemaker.
type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent.
No, I'm a 7.
I'm not complacent. I'm a man of God.
I'm a 7.
Well,
How are you?
7.
Let me read
These are
this.
kind of like doggies. So we did make you a
Okay,
doggy
so check
cartoon
this
last
out.
episode.
I could
actually,
see David being a 7.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm a
listen.
3.
I was shown like
He's
this
like,
photo of the
photo?
Enneagram numbers, okay,
Uh-huh.
and there's an animal for each one.
Is there?
Mine was a dog. It was a
Well,
golden
yeah.
retriever.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I saw that after our podcast where we were like, oh, he's definitely a dog. So I was like, wow, this really is. So I'm a 7.
I'm
So
a
rough.
dog.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm a dog. That's funny.
The reason I bring up even the Enneagram thing, I have a friend that her friend literally she met a guy online and they went out a couple times, so they actually texted their relationship.
Oh, wow.
They texted
Texted.
after
I
they're
did
out.
that.
Wow.
And they
FaceTime?
actually, after the 3rd date, they realized they like their Enneagrams weren't like
Compatible?
compatible, and decided to break up.
Because of that.
How old
And
are
that was
they?
it. Pushing 30.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, I'll say this.
Oh,
I think then that kind of makes more sense because you kind of could see the potential of certain traits that you might not agree with. So then you're like, all right, let's just call a spade a spade. You're cool. Let's just end it before. You know
But
what
then
I'm
why blame it on that? Just
I
go, you
mean,
know what?
But
Like
did they
after
see
3rd
that
date.
before they took the test?
No,
Or-
they
Maybe-
blamed it on that.
saying? Okay, so
That's what I'm confused
that's a
on.
little iffy. That's a
I
little
don't know
weird.
because like okay, I'm a
I'm
1.
just trying to give them, I'm trying to shoot
and
them
then
down
I'm a
something.
9. No, I'm a 1 and an 8 and then a 9 like
Okay.
after. So, and I would Gio would never take this test, but if he did, he'd be super bored. But if he did, like, I don't think he would be a 1 or an 8. Maybe he would be a 9, but I don't know. I feel like it just tells you, it just takes your personality and it gives you like, oh, and this is what this is called. You have this type of personality.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like 1 in a million personality test. I don't know. I feel like it's just, you can make different personalities work, and that's what this is. So
I feel like with this one specifically, different from the Myers-Briggs test, like this is more like foundational. So this is kind of like the why behind.
Yeah, you're like, this is why.
Yeah,
I like
a little
this.
bit. So I mean, like I looked up mine, and I'm a 3, and I agree for the most part.
What's a 3?
I don't know.
The achiever, the success-oriented, pragmatic type, adaptive, excelling, driven, and image-conscious.
Yes, that is me. I am very much that.
Nah, you're 7.
You know what's funny? There's actually like there's a sermon series on all of these Enneagrams, and
Yeah,
I
I've seen
watched
that.
mine,
man.
and I didn't really agree with a lot of what he said about like my specific like number, but there were certain things where I was like, dang, you reading me, like you in my business right now, like that's me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would not date. I don't even care because it's like astrology to me. Like I know, whatever. You know, I'm a Gemini. I'm kidding.
Me
But like it doesn't matter. Like I don't
Yeah.
judge people off of their whatever. Like you could be a 1 and not look like a 1.
And a Scorpio.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's how important it is to me. It's not.
I'm a 1 and a 6 and a 9,
Okay.
What is
which
6?
is weird.
Which are you primarily in?
50, 50, 50, 25.
Okay.
I don't like, and I've
Whoa.
taken the test,
That's
whatever. I am very evolved, you guys. I am like, I am
Whoa.
zen.
I
Wait,
believe
that's
it.
bad too.
Well, I know. No, it's good.
It's not as bad as
It's fine.
astrology.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
those
one
ranks.
reformer like Kaimana. So rational, idealistic, principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionist.
We're the best.
So probably that no one will disagree with any of that.
Okay.
And then loyalist, committed, security-oriented type, engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious.
Cool.
You think that's accurate to you?
I think so. That's probably the most. I'm very middle child. I'm very fair-minded. So like I
see.
ultimately I think things need to be fair. Like if I was like the root and the raw, like my rawness, I'm like, is it fair? It's fine. Like that's my thing. Like I always default to
Yeah.
that. So like unprayed up, uneducated, whatever. I'm like, is it fair? Like that's the
Fair.
first
Is
thing.
it fair to everyone?
That's
Fair
as
that.
raw as I get. I think I'm tend to be more fair than I am like outspoken or anything. Cause it's fair. I'm like, I'll be chill. But if it's not fair, I'm getting on my soapbox and going ham.
That's true.
So
Enneagrams.
yeah, but I don't care. I think this is just 2019 response to Myers-Briggs. I think
Yeah.
someone got bored and wants to make money, but whatever. I'm not
And
going to
they
hate
are
on their
making
hustle.
money.
Amen. Capitalism.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Do your thing.
Yeah.
I wanna
Okay.
make a test.
Let's talk some personal philosophy, dating stuff real quick. Who should pay for stuff, the guy or the girl?
Both of them.
Both. With an F.
I say both.
Why?
Only because I think a conversation should be had at least in the first couple dates. Go for it, dude. Like if you're confident as a man, like, and you got it, pay for it. I also think you shouldn't be going on dates if you can't pay for them. So like just as a dude, pay for the first 2, 3, but on the third one, be a little bit slower to take for the check. You know what I'm saying? Like be like, so
God.
is this together or separate? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just see, because some girls just be like when the check come, they just be on their phone like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And like, it's like, no. He's asking us a question, so we should pay attention.
He's asking both of us.
But then it becomes like I don't know, it's like a dance after that when you're like in a real relationship. So,
I just think like guys should pay for stuff. And actually, sometimes I don't know why I think that, because other gender role things I think are really arbitrary and like fluid. But I don't know. Like, I think first of all, there's like a source of confidence that comes to a man when he does pay for things.
Yeah.
That like, I remember like a really good friend of mine when I was younger. Like, he was so cute and so talented and just so, I don't know, like he got all the ladies, but he never had a job. And so he always had his sugar mamas. And so like, that was cool, I guess. But I could tell like there was just deep lack of confidence in him. Then that would sort of like corrode the relationship, because his girlfriends would always be like girlfriend moms, and then he would be like, I want to be the man though, but then I'm like your son because buy me this.
Yeah.
And it was like very weird, and so I always felt bad for both parties. But I don't know, I also like just grew up in like a traditional house where like my dad was the main provider. I don't know, I lived in his house till I got married, so I feel like man pay for things, like that's just like connects in my brain, you know.
So much of what she just said, it's the same for me, mainly being like sometimes I don't even know why I think this, but like I really don't know why.
Weirdo.
But like I guess
freak.
So. But like
crazy. I'm not gonna text back.
Have you heard of FaceTime?
Stick it to the man.
So the man should never text back, but
agreed.
But I really feel like like I should be the one to pay for our dates, and I feel like
all of them.
Yeah, literally all of them.
But see, like I've never asked.
Yeah.
Like Gio on a date. Like if it was up to me, we would always sit at my house and watch TV.
Okay.
So if he would always, I guess that like I'm never like, I feel like that, but then I'm also like the least fancy girl in the world. Like I literally would rather always stay home than get dressed up and go to a restaurant. So I guess to me, I'm like, if you want to do that, like you're for sure going to pay for it because I'm like having less fun here than I would if we were doing nothing. So yeah.
And I think that works perfectly too. I think, I don't know, in a relationship where I'm willing to like, make every date happen or whatever, if she asks like, oh, hey, can we do this? Or can we, then that's that works perfectly. If it were a situation where she was coming up with these, amazing ideas over and over and over.
You heard of the Ritz-Carlton?
then I don't know exactly how that conversation
Luma.
would go, but I think it would be a conversation after that. Cause whatever, you just have to be smarter than that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it is telling of the future too. I think maybe there is some just innate desire for me to like just be the majority provider, and like, if she wants to contribute, of course you're welcome to. And that's awesome. But I think it has to do with that, just like this, setting that tone, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of very strong-willed women who want to do that because they want to like cater and treat somebody, and they see it like, I guess, the flip side of it is being like, I can hold my own, and I also want to take care of like what's like mine.
Yeah.
And I get that.
And I don't know. I feel like certain things like I don't want to hold my own. Like I've realized Gio's a lot more like open-minded about gender roles than I am, but I'm just like, if it's heavy, you're going to pick it up. If it's gross, you're going to take the trash out. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, in my head, there's like things that boys do.
Right.
And there's things that girls do. But I also like, I don't cook. So like, that's a big, red flag because that's a big gender thing for girls. But I don't know.
I think we have to be careful. I'll put a little bit of psychology and then scripture in this right now. Number one, Adam had a job before he had a wife.
Right.
So he was birthed into productivity. So I do think that like men want to provide and want to work. I think that is ornate. I think that's how God built us. And then women had a relationship before they had anything else.
True.
And the number one need in relationships in women is security. Number one need in relationship for men is sex. It's two different things. So women need security really, really bad. They need to have it. So when you are going out with a man, if he doesn't pay and just kind of make the plans and just have that, we don't feel safe. And then you have the growth in our society, single parent household. Mom is the only one in charge. Dad isn't there as a whole. And you have mom working, cooking, taking care of business, doing it all. So women think, they're like, no, I want to take care of my own too. But they don't realize they do that and they kind of push the man away. And it continues to pervert the male position in society. It's like, okay, well then you're nothing, I'm everything. I don't think women should be less. But I think men should just adapt to that. Be like, okay, I need this. I am the protector. I am this, and I'm gonna do it. Doesn't mean one can't make more money than the other. But when it comes to dating, I think the way the man is made and the way the woman is made is a man needs to like be firm and step forward. And I think women find security in that. Once they find security, then they will do whatever. But I do think it's birthday, anniversary, whatever. I think the woman can go, hey, I'm taking you out. I'm doing this. I think it's great. But that initial step, I think we need to like kind of know what, as a woman, like I know what I need. So yes, shoes on my feet, I bought it. But if I'm going to, like, you're going to be my partner, like you never see a strong woman with a weak man. You've never seen that in society. You got Beyonce, you got Jay-Z. You got Hillary Clinton, you got Bill Clinton. Like it's there. So if you want that strong woman, you're going to want a strong man, and he's going to have to show.
Well, I also think like, go ahead.
Thank you. I think too. What? you know, and it's different. Yeah, like if you've been dating for like 2.5 years and like the dude loses his job, like you're like, all right, we're done. But like it's, you know, you have already found that compromise. And like too, like me and Gio both work. We make similar amounts of money, and it doesn't bother me. And I don't think I could stay home and like not work, because I am like a 2019 woman, you know. But I do think it's the initial thing that you have to set.
I would agree with that. I was just gonna say that I think outside of dates, I think that sense of security that women might look for also can come, like, they can find that in other things outside of just like the typical men paying for something. So not that I'm opposed to it, because like I said, first two, 100%. Third, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna kind of like let you, like, I'm still going to be capable to do it, but I'm gonna kind of see how you feel, so you don't feel like I'm like overstepping on you, just because I'm totally confident enough to like let someone else, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
to me, I would just think you're a cheapskate and like you don't want to a future. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, you're that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I guess I feel that.
And I know what women say, but I also know what they really feel, because they let you, and then at that point they realize, oh wow, I don't know if I see a future with this person, and they start criticizing other things. But they start criticizing
the third
other
date and
things.
never
I guess.
And they blame this, but in reality, they just don't feel safe with you.
Yeah, I mean, well, if that's how they feel, then I'm.
If it's gonna be like that, then we're done.
I mean, like, yeah, because I just think there's a certain like understanding level of that, because like, I just think when it comes to those issues, that sense of security, you can see a guy who's like cheap, and then you can see a guy who's like trying to make room for you, or trying to like, you know what I'm saying? So
you just have to be careful in that, because too, like when girls do decide like, well, I'm gonna be my own security and I'm gonna provide for myself, then you kind of have to be okay with all the different things that come with that. Like they're probably not gonna look to you for like certain things you wish they would look to you for, because they're like, I'm my own provider, you know, or like they're not gonna like defer to your opinion or maybe respect you as much, because they're just like, no, like I'm the alpha of this relationship. And then I don't know, most guys don't want to be like the beta, you know,
and they're gonna mommy you.
It's kind of hard.
But
I'm saying like you have to like accept all parts of it.
They're gonna mommy you.
No, that's not true. If you a week, you just gotta lay down the law. Like, you
gotta boss her up, but make her pay.
You better pay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just think there's a dynamic. It's like a dance that kind of happens. So it's just like
It's a game.
It's like a salsa.
I don't know if it's a game, but I just would know a woman who understands my role as a man, and like her role as a like female and a woman, like in the dance, like as far as relationship goes, not like whatever. And so I just think they would totally understand. Like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's common sense.
I feel like you can't let it go too far. Like, she can't be like filling up your gas tank and like giving you lunch money and like all that.
You know
but I'm saying it can evolve into that.
Done that.
Yeah, but I know women who are like, literally, here's $20 for the day, honey.
I would never let you.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are you doing that?
But
like,
it is, and women don't care eventually.
No, I've never.
I mean, it's just.
But I mean, it's okay, because she wants to be with you, and so she's gonna take care of you like her son.
It's not out of a wrong heart. It's like a caring, nurturing kind of thing.
But you as a man have to be like, no,
exactly.
I'm good.
Exactly.
I think like in the scenario of like, okay, she gives me $20 for the day or pumps the gas, whatever. I don't think it does harm on her end at all. But I think for my own like subconscious, that's where the dating thing comes in. Like, I just want. Like, honestly, like Olive Garden, like it's going to get paid for, who cares, right? But I'm talking like 5-10 years from now, if we're still together, like I have created a foundation of subconsciously being the provider in finances, small at the beginning. Yeah. Eventually, I just naturally, there's no question as to who takes the lead in the emotional leadership and the spiritual leadership. And like, just, you know what I mean? And being that, because I started small, then eventually it gets bigger and bigger, and there was never any question as to who was going to take the lead in those other areas. I do understand, though, because there are other areas bigger than paying for dates that the man can take the lead in 100%. That dictates that the same way. It's just, for me personally, dating is that
I think
big a
that
deal.
mentality is the problem with relationships nowadays, because women still need security.
Yeah.
I just think everything has been modeled so wrong that women don't know what they want, because they say certain things but they mean something else. And like, women are the biggest liars.
Okay, I was about to say, whose fault is that?
Well, yeah, that's their fault, but it's true.
It's just that, like I said, it's because of the growth of single parent households. Like, so then women think, I have to do this, this, and this, and this, and after this is to keep them, and all of a sudden they're like, they mommy you, and you think it's okay, it's cute for now because your gas tank is full and you're you have $20. I'm like, but eventually you don't want to have sex with your mom.
Well,
you don't
I mean,
want to.
That is
whatever.
good.
And
That,
it's
yeah,
a,
no,
it's
I'm
a
not trying to
mental-
rebuttal that. I'm
I-
not trying to rebuttal that
like-
no. I was just saying. Like,
Ew.
no.
Do you have a
That's not what I
counterpoint,
said.
David?
That's not what I said.
Everyone in the background's like,
Everyone agrees with that
that's all
statement.
hands towards David.
Yeah.
No.
But I just think where your treasure is, so your heart will be also. And just like the Bible talks a lot about money, the money thing is an issue whether we want to admit it or not,
Yeah.
whether men or women. It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. What's the biggest mistake people make in dating relationships?
Oh, not having like a personal life.
Okay,
Like,
that's good.
you know, I think what I've just learned is that it should, in the beginning, it's okay for it to be casual and not like super intense. And like, I could say a whole bunch of things like, don't fall in love with someone's potential. Don't like all that stuff. But I think like, just enjoy being like good friends with that person. And I mean, this might sound like I'm a player or something, but I think the labels of like boyfriend and girlfriend sometimes can like, hope that didn't make that, but it can like suffocate like the fun beginning puppy love type stage. So I think that's a big mistake, is like too serious too soon. Like it's too much. So
Anybody else biggest mistakes?
I think like kind of what you said, but this lying to yourself or even lying like to your partner about like what you want. Like you just, as I don't know, because I know for girls, like we're really afraid to be like bossy or naggy or like be called all these words that we get called. But like at the end of the day, like for instance, if you really need a guy who's going to pay for your stuff, like you just honestly need to be upfront about that and then cut it if it doesn't happen. You know, if you need a guy who's going to be like in constant communication with you, then you need to let him know that. And then if he's game for that, he is. If he's not, he's not. And that it doesn't create like conflict and all this stuff. Like you just, and even as guys, like if you're not down to like label something right away, like you need to like tell a girl that immediately.
Yeah.
Because if not, you like have all these feelings, but then
That's
you
true.
haven't communicated. So then everyone's miserable, but it's because like initially we just want to like get the person, like we want the job, we want to get like the
Right.
opportunity, and then we get it and we're like, I don't know what to do with this, you
Yeah.
know? So I think like not being scared to get rejected, I guess, and just be like, this is me, this is real, this is me, you know?
that's good.
And kind of like accept that maybe someone won't be into that,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm with you on the whole social life thing, on just having something outside of that. Because I've just seen it too far often. Like, just you get into this relationship and it's like, I mean, there's just types where it just becomes absolutely everything. And you eventually, this is the part that weirds me out, you separate it completely from your other relationships.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
almost like I don't know, like it's just something
You're on an
completely.
island.
Yeah, and like, so then you feel like you have to be a different person. You feel like you have mode A and mode B.
Yeah.
And then you end up like getting mad at one of those modes because the other mode doesn't vibe with the other mode. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've learned that I think early on in a relationship is good to as best as you can, like blend the two and not feel like you have to jump from one to another and then back to the other, just because
Yeah.
it's emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, after a long enough time, you see like, oh, this is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just taking care of that early on. I think it can be weird just depending on whatever the specific people that involves in your life and how
Yeah.
different those relationships are. But I don't know, I just think that's really important to figure out early on, because it can get really uncomfortable later on. So
Yeah.
It's funny how they're, and then I'm with you. I think the relationships just that you have in your life, you have to keep them. Like
Yeah.
for accountability purposes, so that you don't ruin something good.
Yeah.
But then also like God did not put like man and woman, husband and wife to just be the only relationship. That's
Yeah.
why we have aunts and we have pastors and we have leaders and we
Right.
have butchers.
Yeah.
Like we have all these people in our lives that like can provide certain things. So
Right.
when we look at our significant other who we love or hope to love or are growing in love, like we can look to them to provide everything. But that's not scriptural
Yeah.
and that's not
Right,
healthy.
yeah.
Like
Right.
A, only God can.
Yeah.
B, there's other relationships that you can get. And it's really exhausting to be in a relationship
Yeah.
when you have to be that person's everything.
Yeah, that's
And
like
it's
too
like,
much.
I can't, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
It's too much.
I'm hardly enough for myself.
I don't even know what my life's about.
Okay, what is the worst date you ever been on? Or worst situation, romantic relationship you ever been on? In a quick story. I have one. I'll go first. I was literally like a movie scene, dating relationship. I went out on a date with a guy. The check came, and he just stood there staring at it. And understand, you know, like I said, I'm a strong woman, and I've dated guys and they've been unemployed and they've been like, it's fine. I've dated everything. So like nothing freaks me out.
Right.
But if you're going to ask me out and you're just going to sit there, and we literally stared at the check. It was like, and then in my mind, I'm writing a drama in my head. So I'm like, wow, I'm going to talk about this one day. We're just going to sit there, going to whatever. And then he got on his phone. So then like an idiot, I was like, wow. And then literally I'm like, wow, this is my life. You reap what you sow. This is it. I took the thing. And then I took out my wallet and I paid for the whole dumb dinner. Never thought I'd be in that position. Was in it. It was horrible. And at that moment, I knew. I was like, yeah, this will never go anywhere. The indecisive, the whatever, pushing off on me when I didn't even ask the person out.
Yeah, that's
right. You're like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
What's his name? He goofy for that. That's wild. That's wild.
No, ever.
I think the funny story is I was on a date that I didn't know was a date. And so,
how did you not know?
Well, it wasn't even like, I don't want to make it sound like it was. No.
He knew what it was.
No. Because we were just like hanging out, you know, and then we go to get food, and this is how I realized it was the day after the fact, because we're getting food, and we had ordered, and I was like in front of her, and so I walked down to the end, and I'd already like paid for my food, right? So then basically, like, I'm trying to remember it as I say it, but basically what happened was the guy at the register was like, oh, okay, this is what happened. So she had told me thank you as if I had paid for her food already. And I had only paid for my food. So I was like, oh, how do I get out of this? How do I keep this together? So then I tried to put it on the dude at the register. I was like, did you put them both together? You didn't? He's like, just put them both together. But he didn't catch on.
Oh no.
So he was like, no, this is your food. Like, and I was like, no, yeah, just put them together. And he's like, that's her food. And I was like, help me, dog. Like, help me. And like, yeah, so that was really awkward. But I don't know if she was just not like, you know, she was just probably in like whatever. She's like, I'm just happy to be here type mode. Yeah. And so she didn't notice that whole interaction. But
oh my
gosh, I was like,
how did it work out with you? Married her and have 5 kids?
No. I don't even talk to her no more
because of that.
Ever since then.
Nah, she cool.
Okay. What makes a relationship work?
Obviously paying for dinner. I mean, and clearly paying for dates makes it work.
That's step one. What makes a relationship work?
What's step 2?
I mean, I don't know. Everyone, and from what I've learned as well, everyone just has everyone that's been successful in relationships, I should say, has like a huge focus on communication. Okay. And like, so everyone says that. And my thing with that is like, absolutely. Because in my opinion, like, and it goes back to what we were talking about, like the paying thing. And then like, or I guess that mentality of like, if I'm a woman, oh, I want to pay for everything, not actually knowing what I want, and then later it breeds problems.
Yeah. I might be a woman.
You're stupid. I guess the communication thing is like, and you always hear about this, like you end up arguing over things that you never were mad about in the first place because of a lack of communication in the areas that did matter. So like things build up, and then eventually you just, I don't know. And I've seen that too outside of not like romantic relationships. Outside of those, I'm talking about like with my siblings too. If there's been like an issue, you know, what like it makes me mad and it makes me upset, but I'm not like there enough to talk about it. I'm not like ready to talk about it. Then they can like, I don't know, if they can like trip over something, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like that can happen. You have this underlying resentment for a person because you never addressed an issue that was way before what you're pretending to be mad about. So to me, it's communication. I've seen it in my own, you know, relationships as well. But yeah, that to me is the biggest thing. That to me makes it successful. I
agree with communication, but I also think it's like effort. Okay. Like it takes a lot of effort to make a relationship work, to get even to marriage, and then to make a marriage work for the rest of your life. It takes even more effort. And so like that's just something not portrayed in the movies. Like that's something that we sometimes don't think about. Like we just think if it's gonna work, it's gonna work. And I'm like, nope, if you think that, it's gonna fall apart every time. Yeah. You know, like it just takes a lot of effort and time. And like that's why we talk about like different ages to date and different times in your life to date, because you have to really like be able to commit a certain amount of time to just making your relationship work with this person. And if you can't, again, you don't have time to communicate and stuff like that, it's not gonna work out.
I think you said something earlier about like showing like all of yourself. And I think a big problem sometimes, if you don't know what you like or how you work or how you think, then you can't even communicate that.
Yeah.
And so then you might not even take the time to
Right.
put in the effort.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're like, well, we just don't work. We're just not compatible.
Right.
But really it's like, no, like you guys might be on opposite ends
Yeah.
as it comes to a certain topic or whatever that happened. And then the effort says, oh, that was just a miscommunication because that's not what I meant.
Right.
And then you guys are like, oh, so we're fine.
But
And
then-
then
yeah, and then
it's
you-
good.
yeah,
You know
you're
what I'm
not
saying?
self-aware.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it's like all of those things. And I don't know. I think coming into the relationship with the knowledge of yourself, like truly, like genuinely as an individual, that's why, I mean, preachers will say single seasons are sacred seasons. Like, take that time. I heard, like, one of my friends says, like, you'll never, like, when you're married, like, you're never going to be just by yourself again. So that headspace that you have just for yourself as a single guy, take that time to, like, use it, enjoy it, live in it, and learn yourself, because there's so much growth you can find and you can discover yourself and stuff like that. So
I think one of the most important things is compromise. And I think that word, I think we talk about it and we're like, yeah, it's compromise. I think compromise is easier than people make it out to be. You just have to be willing. Like, when you're like ready for a relationship and you're genuinely digging that person, they're digging you, and they're just like, okay, I don't like this. It is easy to go, oh, okay, I won't do it. Why?
Right.
Because I love you. I don't care.
That's
like,
true, that's true.
I don't like you hanging out with that person. Straight.
Like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Dead to
fine.
me.
That's the thing.
Bye.
It's like, you have this thing, like, especially when you're younger, like, never again. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I have this thing that's like, seriously, this will make you happy. This will make you smile.
Right.
This will give you joy.
Like, that's
Yeah.
it. That's
and
all
I'm
I
like,
have to do.
all I have to do is that.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you
it's
for
worth
telling
it.
me.
Easy
Yes.
trade-off.
It is
Thank you for
worth
telling
it.
me.
It is like, please, like, and I guess that's just love, though. How can I love you better is not say this word,
Yeah.
Right.
not do this action.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
go. You know, like, it is so much easier, and there's so much more camaraderie / that person sees that. They're like, wow,
Yeah.
they're serving me. They're loving me in this way. It's the greatest thing. Like, oh my gosh, find that out in your relation. Like, how can I love you? If I just don't do this one thing, that's
Right.
done.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Done. Let's
Yeah.
go eat. Who's paying?
No, for
you
real.
know?
Yeah, no, that's real, because like I just think there's so many times where it could be nothing to you to not, you know what I'm saying,
Yes.
or to do,
Right.
you know what I'm
Unless
saying?
you're
like,
just being prideful or just being a
Exactly.
brat.
That does
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Yeah,
going to
that
change
does happen.
myself.
But
But
Yeah.
then,
then,
like,
like,
but then
that's
you
not
don't
going to work
really
then.
love that person.
Right.
You're not ready for a
Exactly.
relationship.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You that's like something you grow out of. Like, when you start
Yeah.
hitting more like 25, you're like, yeah, I don't care. I don't
I
need to
know.
do that.
That's
Yeah.
it. Like, when people say like that, like, I'm not going to change for anyone. And I'm like, well,
Good
prepare to be
luck.
alone forever.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
who in the world do you not have to change for? You have to change for
Yeah.
your friends, your
Yeah.
family. Like, you,
Yeah.
and who says that you are so great?
Yeah.
But that's
And
where the effort
perfected
thing
as a
comes in.
person,
Because
you know?
people just are told, like you said, like from movies and stuff like that, there won't
Yeah, it's
be
like, you don't
oh, it's
have
gonna
to
be
try.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like
So
that's
the
just
first
not the case. And compromise, one of the first areas you've got to work on, because you think, oh, I don't have to change for anybody. If they're
Yeah.
for me, they won't want to change me. Like, that's
It's
just
like wrong,
crazy.
I'm gonna
wrong.
change you right
Eh.
now.
Yeah. So that's good. Yeah.
Okay, what's the most important characteristic in a solid relationship? Maybe relationships that you've admired, that you've seen, that you are currently in. That you're just like, what is something that they genuinely have?
You said characteristic?
Yeah, characteristic. Think of like the most solid relationships that you've seen or are a part of, been married for like a bazillion years.
I think like they just still enjoy like each other's company, you know, like you see even dating relationships sometimes where it's like, you guys are not happy to be together. Like, you guys are better separate, you know, but like they stay in it because usually there's like sin, or like, you know, they've been together so long. They're like, oh, I'm just going to stay in this. But like the marriages I see that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. It's like they love to be around each other. They still make each other laugh. They're each other's biggest fans. Like, they could really just go off and be together and they would be totally happy to do that. Like, and I don't know. I really like that. And I think that can carry you through like tough seasons, because you're like, no, but this person's also my friend. So we like to be together.
My grandparents have been married for almost 60 years.
Oh my gosh,
Stop
that is
it.
so
And
amazing.
yeah, it's crazy. And so it's funny, when I was younger, like I used to see them, like, because I was at their house all the time. I used to see them like argue. They would argue about certain things, and it would get like, I mean, whatever, Puerto Rican household, it would get pretty loud. But what I always noticed is like those arguments and those whatevers, like they were super real and they were there, but they were never connected to like to whether or not like the other person like loved them. And I think you build that over years and years and years, of course. But like I would just notice that those arguments would happen sometimes.
They were like based on the situation.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then but then like 30 minutes later they'd be laughing about something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like just talking about something in the news. Like so I don't know, those things were never
grandparents. right.
So like those two things were never connected. It's funny, we had a conversation about that I guess a couple episodes ago, but like just not assuming that someone's motives are so malicious. Like sometimes there's an issue that really is just an issue, and you just have to figure it out.
It's not connected to anything.
Exactly. And then you go back to the same love in that person you always had from the beginning. So that's them, man. And I look at them and sometimes I just take it for granted because that's all I've ever known is them being together. But when you really think about 60 years of being with the same person, and I'm 23, so times my life times 3, and that's how long they've just been together.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to take that for granted. So I look at those little things and I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. So.
How does your perspective of dating, marriage, divorce differ from your parents' perspective? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's the exact same. Marriage, dating, divorce.
Well, when it comes to dating, like I'm Nigerian, and so my dad, like my parents, like they're super traditional and stuff like that. So they didn't really understand me, like just, I don't know, like they were just, it's not that they didn't understand, but they were just strict about certain things. And I was just like, why? It's just chill. Like, and they would ask about one girl. The one time I gave one name, they would ask about her forever. And I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, listen, there are going to be other ones. Like we're just figuring this out. And so I guess as far as dating it goes, it's like, it's a lot more like, it's like different from that perspective.
So they didn't like really date around.
Yeah. It was very like one person. Oh no. Okay. Well, that was one thing. And then another person. Oh, okay. We're married now. You know what I'm saying? Type vibes. So that's how it differs for dating.
I guess my parents weren't Christians when they got married. So I think everything is different. Like my mom, even when I was in high school, was sort of more the like, you should go on dates with guys and like hang out with guys, whatever. And like not really, like nail down a boyfriend or whatever. And I just remember like being completely uninterested in that. And I was like, that sounds awful. That sounds like a terrible idea. And so, Gio was like literally my first everything. So I think that was weird for my parents. And then even like when we got married, my dad's like, I didn't know that you guys waited, until your wedding day, like, like to have sex or whatever. Like he had no clue. And I was like, Dad, I work at a church and so does Gio, and we're Christians. Like I'm confused. But they just, that mentality of that, like he was just shocked. And I was like, wow. I don't know how you're so shocked at this.
So back to my grandparents, because my mom doesn't have, really strong opinions about that. But my grandparents are like the super classic, like, get married super young and like go start your life and everything like that. So I don't know. I just think my opinion of that differs in this sense. Like I just want to be hypersensitive to God, like whatever you have for me in this area.
Amen.
Give it to me, the exact person, the exact time. Like I will be the exact person I need to be then. And I'm very conscious of the fact that it won't be perfect because of those things, but it will be what God wants. And so I don't know, like that's at the forefront of my mind, and then hit at my grandpa's mind specifically is like, because he's been on his own for so long. He moved from Puerto Rico to like the New York area when he was 17, before he even turned 18. Stayed with like a family member over there and whatever. Started his life super early and got married around then too. So I don't know, it just differs in the sense that like I've got a priority of God, whatever you want for me, like bring that on. You know what I mean? And focusing on like areas of my life that kind of show that I'm in that boat, not just saying it, you know what I mean, but also doing it, So I don't know, that's priority for me. I think it should be priority for everybody because I don't know, we can get discouraged sometimes because some people get, figure this out at a younger age and whatever the case. And so, that's something that, comes into my mind. But at the same time, I find comfort in looking at the other areas of my life God has already provided in and saying this is just one where he's got a different time slot than other people.
I feel like my grandparents are like the same as yours. They were like, and I got married young, but they were like, super 2 years before I got married, they're like, when do you guys get married? And I was like, Grandpa, I don't have any money. And then he's like, it's okay, just do it anyways.
But I think it's a cultural. I mean, I always thought it was because it's Puerto Rican thing.
Me too, yeah.
Or like Nigerian. It was, but I think it's just more and more like people are waiting longer to get married or just not getting married. So you bring that culture in. Then when just my entire family, by 18 they were married, by 19 they had a kid, and they were just going. Versus people are like 25 here and just starting community college.
Right.
You know, working
Say
at Taco
names.
Bell. And
No,
it's
I'm
just
kidding.
like, oh, wait.
Who
and
is
it's
it?
different, and it's millennials
Yeah.
or whatever. And grandparents and parents have no idea. They're like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And I do like, you know, grandparents right now too are like, they used to like not really have, they not have boyfriends or girlfriends. They used to go out with someone on
Yeah.
Friday, someone on
Yeah.
Saturday. But now I feel like the wave is coming back with online dating. I think people
Yeah,
are like
people are
dating
dating
random
now,
people
yeah.
again. It's like turning, not just like
Yeah.
one boyfriend, one girlfriend,
Yeah.
just kind of see whatever's out there
Yeah.
and then maybe decide. So I think that wave is like turning.
True.
Do you guys believe in soulmates?
No.
No.
Could you define soulmate?
Oh
What
my
exactly
gosh,
is
the mate of your soul.
There it is.
Oh, okay.
The only one
what,
for
but you mean like
you.
meant to
Only
be?
one person
Oh.
that's meant for you in this entire world.
No, I don't believe in that.
You can marry a lot of people. You can be with whatever.
No,
Doesn't
absolutely.
matter.
Okay, you're gonna
is
marry one
okay.
person, but I think like I don't know, man. It's like you're not destined, you know, to be with. I don't know. You're not only compatible perfectly to be with one
Right.
person. I don't
Depending
think
on your Enneagram, then that's how you know.
No,
You
we
were
should-
9.
We should get rid of Enneagrams.
Oh no.
I'm
Let's
just kidding.
find
Let's
the
write
guy.
a letter.
Mr. Enneagram.
I just okay. Like the thing is, if that were real, like I don't know, everyone would have to be like perfect with that person. Like
Right.
doesn't the simple fact that, you know, although we can believe like we found a spouse and God found them for us or whatever, like although we can believe in that, we can see we're still not perfect and we have to put effort and make compromise and all that. Like that's a perfect example of like
Soulmates don't exist.
soulmate. What is that?
But
Like, 'cause
then
it's
you'll
a-
see people who have like, you know, high school sweethearts or just like,
Yeah.
you know, like model stories as it regards to like
Yeah.
relationships and stuff like that. And you're like, maybe I don't
Yeah.
have a soulmate.
But you know what? If you
It's
ask,
just me.
if you ask any of them, well, we'll ask her in a
Yeah.
second. I feel like if you ask any of them, they will all say completely confident, yeah, I don't believe in soulmates. I could have married
Yeah.
anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, Jamie, what about Pastor Johnny?
Yeah.
Don't
It
tell
breaks
him.
my heart.
Yeah.
Wendy too. I'm like, Pastor Matt, when
She's
you
like,
were
I would've been
15,
fine.
he's like, I would have been fine. I'm like,
What?
what? Just literally images ruined.
Yeah.
You know? So I'll
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
you, do you believe in soulmates?
No,
See,
I
image
don't.
ruined.
Yeah, but then I really like sort of had it like when I really thought about it, I was like, I do think Gio's my soulmate
Aw.
though, like because I was just like, who else could I be with that would love me, you
Yeah.
know? So like, I don't believe in them, but I do just think that like God, you know, you can listen to his directions and then he can give you what's best for your life. So in that way, I'm kind of like, yeah, if you're just following God, then you'll inevitably find everything that he wants for you, which
Yeah.
will probably end up being the
The
right
best,
spouse
yeah.
too.
Mhm.
Even though you can't like force that person, like God said, you know, like that's the weirdest thing you'd ever
Hey.
say to anyone. But
Next
yeah,
Come here. God said.
I just think
Been
like
there.
that's
that's
I've been
tough.
there
I
too,
would
and
never.
it's
That's
very
wild.
scary.
That's so wild
But I think
to
that
me. That's so
honestly,
wild.
like I think like sex is what brings two souls together. Like
Amen.
that's why
Yeah.
I think once you have sex, I don't know what happens when you have it before a marriage and you want to marry that person, but once you are married and have sex, like that is what makes you be like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer my own.
Yeah.
You know, and then but it brings you so close together
Yeah.
in that way. So I'm like, yeah, now he's my soulmate because I chose him.
And
but-
that's
Yeah.
how when people that have sex outside
Yeah,
of
I
marriage,
can't
or they,
even-
several
I don't
people,
even know
you
how
wonder
you
why
could-
they're so
Yeah.
like loco in the head.
yeah, I could never do
Admittedly, they're
that.
like, yeah, I don't know, I don't
Even
know.
just sexual things, because like
Yeah.
there are things more intimate than like intercourse, and so like sorry, but that I'm just
Whoa.
like when people do that and they're like we haven't had sex, and I'm like, oh, you pretty much done it. Like
Yeah.
you did all the things.
Yeah.
So you guys have that connection.
It's, there's a
Right.
there's a soul tie there.
Yeah.
No matter how we slice it or what we
Yeah.
think about it, like it just happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is? It's probably our last question for the episode. What's the difference between love, romance, and sex? Same thing.
Yeah. Why not?
Dang,
No,
why
I'm
did
just
I
kidding. I'm
miss
just kidding. I don't know. I'm just being stupid. Well, I was wondering about this question. Like, I think romance is kind of like what you do.
To get sex.
No, well, this is a byproduct that happens in result. But like, I also think love, like, is romance. Like, love triggers romance. So when you love someone, you want to like do nice things for them. You want to make them feel good. You want to like, you know, cater to them, and like, I don't know, you want to make them happy. And so that's how I think, you know, the difference between that is, or this triggers this is a catalyst for that. But also like romance is just kind of like, it could be something when you're interested too, like maybe not like whatever, but you might like, you know, show out a little bit because you're interested and you're like,
Show out.
yeah, you know, so, and then, I mean, sex, is sex. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a separate, not separate, but I think that's its own thing, because love and romance don't have to be physical, and they don't have to be that, like, it could be something like emotional. There could be something spiritual. It could be an intimacy, like, different. And you can express that and have that, like, in a way that doesn't have to be physical at all. So that's how they differ.
So sex is not intimate.
Sex is intimate, but I think the intimacy, like, is tied into, like, the love and, like, the spiritual relationship, like the oneness between those two people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see it as like levels, definitely. And I don't know, because I'm not married, but from the, I don't know, biblically speaking, from what I understand, and like they're kind of listed perfectly here in the question, but there's love, there's romance, there's sex. So like romance to me is an intensified version of love, right?
Okay.
When love gets to a certain point, it can become romance. And then sex is an intensified version of romance. To me, it's like, but if you're looking at it through the proper like lens of just, you know, God's plan for a man and a woman, like I really think that's the way it's supposed to be. And they kind of lean off of each other in that sense properly, like love, romance, and sex. They kind of like go into that perfect order. And like, you know, sex being the top one. It goes back to what we were talking about before. Like people wonder why there's such a soul tie with a person they've done that with before marriage, just because like you're talking about love, and then you're talking about romance, and then you're talking about the most just like together you can be with another.
Well, define romance. What does that actually mean?
Well, I understand why you're even asking
Right,
that, because
'cause
you were going in a different direction with that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking
like,
romance was all that, like.
Whoa.
Well, when you put them all three
Candles.
next to each other, I'm seeing that as a more serious version.
Okay.
I'm not talking about
I thought
Valentine's
they
Day.
was, yeah, I don't
No,
know.
no,
I
no.
thought romance was like light.
I guess I see romance
Light
as more
versus
Valentine's
love?
Day.
Well, not necessarily. I didn't know they were ranked, but like I just thought romance was like, I don't know. It's kind of like the gestures you do for someone you
I'm
love.
picturing but I'm
So then
picturing the
love should be
emotional.
first.
Yes.
I'm picturing the emotional attachment to that. Like if I do
Yeah.
something really thoughtful and whatever, I'm just like feeling this person. Like I love them. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm doing this extra thing to try and just whatever. And then to me, then the next thing is,
Okay.
is
You
sex.
can
So I
love
see that
someone, but
ranking.
not treat them romantically.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying to get there. And
Right.
If you love someone and you put a lot of romance, it's going to lead to the sex.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
If you try to like bring them in and,
Okay.
and connect and
yeah.
you know.
I feel like romance, though, for me, would be the lowest, because like just feelings, like it's lots of feelings
Right.
happening. It's flowers and
Yeah.
chocolate and compliments.
See, that's
and
where I was
stuff.
with romance.
But I only say that because, like, to me, like, love is just like permanent, and it's like a choice. And like, I don't believe anyone when they say they love their boyfriend or girlfriend and then break up with them because, like, you know, of like things that I'm like, you guys could just work that out. Like
Yeah.
when people say I love you, I'm always like, do you really love them? Because like I love you is like a serious thing, and like it's supposed to be forever. So I just feel like romance is like lower, because I feel like love is like, oh my gosh, this is like a huge. I didn't feel like that before I got married, because I'm sure I told you I loved him before I was ready to commit my whole life to him. But now I'm like, people say it, I'm like, you don't love them.
You don't even know.
You don't even know
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
love them. But then I think like sex is like the fulfillment of love and marriage.
I think also romance is different for everyone.
Okay,
like
cool.
what's gonna make me?
Because I'm over here like, oh my
Even
God.
sweat.
I've been-
No, like you know, and you hear it a lot. Like, okay, so just foreplay for women. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because women tend to be more naggy and more whatever, especially when you have kids and you have a house and you have all these things. That men, they're way more visually. You know what I'm saying? So to them, they're like, oh yeah, you look good, awesome, let's go.
Right.
Versus women are like, yeah, I don't care. No, you do nothing for me. So a man can like wash the dishes or pay for dinner or vacuum the house, and women are like, woo, let's go.
Okay,
you know what I'm
okay.
saying? So like, I'm not, romance is different for the person, like whatever,
Yeah.
like is intimate to them or
Yeah.
whatever they receive, you know, the love languages, whatever
Yeah.
it is that they receive, but then that will lead to more. So you got to be careful who you serve and
Yeah.
who you
Oh,
touch
true, true,
and
true,
who,
true,
the
true,
words
true,
that
true.
you use, because to these, they're just like, wow, this is romantic.
That's very,
this
very
is
true.
love.
That's crazy.
Versus you can give like, okay, I've dated a lot of musicians, so all of them have written me songs.
Right.
I don't give a rip about words. I'm a
Right.
writer. I'm like, what? I can write you a drama. I am not.
Right.
And they're just like, here's my song, and I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Cool.
Can
That's
you pay for
true.
my dinner? Can you give me a gift card to Starbucks?
See, that's like, I
So-
never thought I was romantic, because that's how I always think romance is like that. And I'm like, I hate all that stuff. Like, I feel like uncomfortable. But like, cause Gio too, he's like words of affirmation. So he would write me like cards and stuff, blah, blah. And like, eventually I was just at a point where I was like, you don't have to like write me stuff. Like, you could just like you could wash my car for me or whatever. So even like when he proposed, like, he didn't have a speech. He was just like, Kaimana, will you marry me? And I was like, yes. And then the day went on, and like my friends ended up being there, and then my mom ended up being there, and that's if I was like, oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing ever. But like I don't think ever did he express his undying love for me, because I told him a long time ago, I was like, I know. Like, I know you love
awesome,
me, but it's fine.
like
and I loved it, but it wasn't like Valentine's Day romance. Because I don't like that.
But he knew how to make you happy.
See,
I my
think,
friends knew.
I guess in my perspective, like I look at romance as being like knowing that person and knowing what makes them happy. It's like, because I'm acts of service, like that's my love language. So when I think of romance, I think of acts of service. I think of doing.
Like, I'll do this for them.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, or just keeping like them in mind, considering them, and like. It could be the smallest thing, but
girls
it's
like to be considered.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So like that to me, I feel like that's why I was like, oh, I didn't know romance was so heavy. Cause
am I doing it wrong?
You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to. I didn't necessarily like connect it like that. But when you put it like that, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Should you be romantic with someone you don't love?
Oof.
I think yes, you can. I think yes, you
with impunity.
But it depends on how we're defining romance. If we're just saying, because like I might just bring you flowers, like because I like you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, but that's your aunt and your grandma too. Like,
right.
But you're not being romantic. So
okay, so that's not romantic.
But here's the thing: just giving things is not necessarily romantic.
Unless their love language is gifts, though.
I think you have to be careful when you are a guy and a girl and you're over 25. Anything you do, yes, it's love and it's foreplay and it's sex and it's romance, and you got to be careful about that.
So then, how do I?
Stop. How can I
just
live? Die, David. Just die.
I mean, I don't know what to take me now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I was in Alaska and it was during my birthday, and Jemariah, she was like, what your email's the same? I'm like, yeah. And she sent me a $5 Starbucks gift card. I literally could have cried because I'm gifts. And I know that she was just loving on me, and I know that's how she shows love. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest day. And it was stupid $5, a stupid Starbucks, but it literally, and she's in my head more so now, like I'm praying more for her, and I'm just like, but I know she wasn't trying to be, whatever. I knew, but you have to be careful when you are both single and you do those actions, because you're going to read into them.
Okay. Straight out single. I thought you meant like in a relationship. Like if I'm in a relationship with somebody and I bring them flowers, like.
But you don't love them yet.
Yeah. Well,
no, because he was saying, can you do it without?
Yeah.
I'm like, but you're building towards that if you're in a relationship.
I think you
with them.
have to.
You don't have to love them yet.
How else would you get to know each other?
Cool.
If you don't have romance, you're just buds.
But
that's what I was about to say.
Even if you don't have romance and you're buds, people think you're not.
Okay, there's a girl who's like your age, and you've never gone out, and you're like, here's a flower.
No.
What is she gonna think?
That's totally different. Yo, that's not where I was coming from. I'm not just trying to like do gestures to like randoms, like, oh hey, here's a bouquet of flowers. I was thinking about you. I consider you. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so if you're dating someone and you bring them flowers, they're gonna think,
yeah. If you they should, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So then what are you?
Okay,
that's
why I was confused, because I was like, I thought my perspective was like all in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was saying like romance could be like anything, like, you know what I'm saying?
No, what she's saying though is like just be careful when you're not in a relationship.
100%.
Touching someone whose love language is touch, and they're like, wow, they're being romantic with me.
I thought that was
like,
understood.
No.
That seems like obvious.
You were the one who was like saying, I don't know.
Everything I was saying was just coming from the perspective as if like we were in a relationship talking about that. Yeah, because I was like, I would never think to do any of those things.
Never?
Never. Nah, never. Nah. The only gesture that would be romantic would be the asking out of a date. Like if it is at that point,
that's not romantic.
I mean,
see, that's where I'm a little bit whatever. Like,
okay, but you can do. It depends on the person. Right. What you can see as romance, someone else cannot see as romance. But if they're feeling if that makes them feel a certain way, then it's romance to them.
Exactly.
Right. Like one of you, like either of you guys, could probably send an encouraging text to some girl at The Voice who's single, and she would take it. Don't do it, because she would take it.
Yes.
Really out of context.
Because you are a writer and you're a natural
like,
speaker.
I'm just being nice. I'm not even being romantic.
No, stop talking.
They would be like, oh my gosh, he loves me.
Yes, stop.
I'm being
nervous
considered.
Wow, see, that's crazy, because that's not romantic to me.
Right.
But what you're saying
because
is if a
that's not really your
person
love
takes,
language.
But because it's not on your end.
Exactly.
But if you,
I guess that's
And
crazy.
so now, like, I get what you're saying just about, like, being, like, careful about, like, that just in general.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it makes more sense when you're, like, pursuing and building something in a relationship. But, like, outside of that, just on a, like, friend level, ooh, no, don't do nothing. High fives and fist bumps. You know what I'm saying? Like, just keep it there because everything means something. Everything is
Yeah.
significant. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, no,
Right.
100%.
Okay. Any quick, super quick last words?
Yeah, I was just going to say about this last one. I think it's funny how, like, somebody in the world, if, you know, you're listening, you don't really have a relationship with God or aren't in church or whatever, might even, like, be freaked out of the fact we're even separating those three things, love, romance, and sex, because to the world, honestly, how different are any of those three from each other? Really not that much, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of all don't, I don't know, to me, they're all on the same level to people I know who are just, you know, secular and who don't, you know, care about the things of God necessarily. But, yeah, I don't know. I just think for anyone listening, if you've never separated those three, I mean, look how far away from sex we are with just talking about love and romance. Like, that's, I don't know, that's just how things need to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of marriage, like, that's just how things need to be. It's not even really part of our conversation because we're not married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we addressed it, but, like, we're more talking about love and romance. So I don't know. I don't want to take that for granted. I think it's cool that we are separating those three as much as we are because biblically they are very important to separate.
Awesome. Okay. Who gets to pick the fortune cookie this episode?
Is it my
Johnny?
turn?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
J-Ray? Good luck.
Wait, we got to call it. Oh my gosh. What is it? What does this mean? What does this mean? We were right.
It's about
The
romance.
first two.
I feel like it
Right,
is
the
about
first two
romance.
episodes.
Yeah, it's
What?
gotta be.
I think
You're-
it has to do with the next
Relationship.
girl that John's gonna be
What?
Ooh,
feeling.
let's go. Yes, yes, I'm
no.
feeling it. I'm
Say her
feeling
name.
it. I'm feeling it. I'm
Imagine
feeling
there's
it.
just a name on there.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
That would be the best.
I was gonna say a name, but there's gonna be someone with that name, so I can't even make
What
that
if it's
joke.
really negative? I'm
It
scared.
doesn't really make sense.
Oh
All right,
my
here we
gosh.
go. I am always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it.
I know that's right.
I am always doing that which I cannot do, so I may learn how to do. So in your next relationship, understand her love language.
communicating.
Understand. Because you're going, I didn't know that was
You will
romance.
be
I didn't know.
learning.
You have to learn in order
Wow.
to keep it.
Oh yeah.
And do that before you even get in one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can be
But be,
prepared. Yeah.
be smart. Be careful with your words. Like you with the text. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I wouldn't think of it. Be smart. Know your love language. Know her
Don't
love language.
encourage anyone.
Don't
Oh.
date whoever's
God.
not your
Discourage
Enneagram.
Okay, yeah, that too. Only
all that
sevens,
stuff.
guys.
No soulmates.
Do
Yeah,
things you've
soulmates.
never
Okay.
done
Recap.
before.
To
learn how
so
to do
that
them.
you can learn
Pay
how to
only
do
for
them.
half the bill.
This is good. Okay, got it. Okay,
Just cover tip.
that's it. Just answer it.
Oh my God.
Wow, this is good.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for episode 3 on the VoiceCast. See you guys
Yeah.
next time for our final episode of the season.
Can't believe it.
Farewell.
It's crazy.
Later.
Thank you for checking out the VoiceCast Summer Conversations. Tune in next time for episode 3.